So my presentation is on macro to supra macro surgery, and we see a different kind of problem in India. So we not only see post malignancy, we see a lot of congenital following filariasis and following cancer. So these are the three spectrum we see now very often in India. So now we saw in Professor Swami's presentation why this field was neglected for many years is because of no proper animal model. And from his work and from the work of people from MD Anderson and Japan, now we know we have a better understanding of the pathophysiology and the mechanism. So this is an example I give for my trainees. We always used to think lymphatic means sewage. It is collecting all the waste, but that is not true. Lymphatic is like subway system of a major city. So there is mass transport happening. Without the lymphatic system, a human body cannot survive because our vascular system is not capable of carrying all the fluid and all the big large particles. So the network beautifully presented in the previous presentation. So from the subcutaneous plane, if you see, it goes from precapillary, precollectors, lymph node, and then finally into the lymphatic system. And this was also shown in the previous talk, and Professor Koshima nicely put this photograph, and he always likes to make nice beautiful drawings. So this is a great understanding of the lymphosome concept, just like we have in the flaps called perforator complex concept. So the common causes which we see is congenital, and it is also present right at the birth, or we see in the teenagers or just in the second or third decade. And the third most common is now the post-filarial and malignancy. So the system of classification we follow is the International Lymphedema Society classification, and in which 0 is subclinical, pitting edema stage is stage 1. The pitting edema does not disappear, and severe fibrosis is stage 2, and extensive skin changes with even bone changes, we call it as stage 3. ICG, which we saw before, we use it now. We have this flow optics. So the machine which we use is the flow optics, and that is Dr. Raja, my colleague, and he is using it to map. So we inject the Indocyan green. In India, Indocyan green is very freely available because it is manufactured by the Oro Lab, the ophthalmology division of the Oro Lab. So they use it in ophthalmology. So it's freely available in India. So we also use it now very extensively. Coming to filariasis, the active cases are reasonably less, but the secondary changes because of the disease is still very high. So close to 140 to 150 million cases are now currently in India. And these cases are at various stages of the lymphedema. In developed country, and also now we start seeing patients like this, which is post malignancy. We do not have the exact data from India, but we also find that extensive scarring, a radical excision, and lot of dissection in the axilla is one of the causes of lymphedema. As was previously discussed, it is not only disturbing the axillary lymph nodes which lead to lymphedema, it is also disturbing the soft tissue envelope and doing lot of dissection in this area. And we also find when the patients put on weight, they start getting lymphedema. So it is never seen immediately post treatment. It is always found around 2 to 3 years or sometimes 5 to 6 years after post mastectomy. How do we measure the severity? We use the both Indocyan green for the mapping, and we use volumetric analysis. So we take measurements. We do not use water displacement or other techniques. MRI is very useful, but it is not very affordable for all patients. But more and more cases we have started doing MRI. 80% of patients are treated by conservative management, and this is extremely useful and effective. Manual lymphatic drainage, multi-layer bandaging, pressure garments, and calibrated chambers. So all this is available now in our hospital, and we also make videos and we have put it in our website also, Ganga Hospital website. So patients can directly look at the website and take care of their the at home they can do it. So this is a chamber which we now give it to the patients. It is made customized for the Indian population. It is relatively cheaper. It is around close to $550, and they can use it. It's a multi-chamber uh, compression device. So we advise them to use it once a day in the evening, and it is available with upper and lower extremity sleeves. And the 4-layer bandaging again is available now in this form. So we teach them and we give them a video like this, and they can download it from our website. So if any place they have any difficulty how to apply, they can apply it comfortably at home. Now coming to surgical management, basically surgical management involves two types of treatment. First is volume reduction and second is physiological bypass technique. What do we mean by volume reduction? It basically means excising the excessive tissue, and this can be done by surgical excision or by liposuction. And I will cover both of them. We have very less experience in liposuction. Professor Brorson from Sweden, and he's an expert in liposuction, but we have also started doing in early cases, but we have limited experience. The other area is a physiological bypass that will also I will cover. And I think Professor Koshima after me will be covering in detail about the microsurgical techniques. Now coming to excision, it has been more than 100 years where excisional techniques have been demonstrated and done. The basic drawback of the excisional techniques used to be recurrence of lymphedema in the distal part, that is foot in case of Charles procedure and in Thompson switch roll procedure, and extensive cosmetic disfigurement. So how do we mitigate that? And we are now, what we follow in our department is a modified Charles procedure popularized by Professor Hung Chi Chen from Taiwan. So I will show that. So when it is limited, when it is localized like this, you will always find when there is excessive fat, fat is inversely proportional to the lymphatic drainage. More the fat, poor is the lymphatic drainage. So the fatty tissue will form like a big mass as seen here, and then it will lead to distal lymphedema. If you are able to excise the fat and give compression garment, most of the time the patient is treated or is all right. So how do we excise it? We go right up to the fascia, right up to the plane of the muscle as seen on the picture on the right. So here is an example of a bilateral massive lymphedema. This girl, unfortunate, she had other systemic syndromic problem in the uterus and in the, so she was uh, like this and not ambulatory at all. She was completely bedridden with repeated bouts of lymphangitis and fever. So this is after one setting of debulking, and this is the first time she has comfortably walked, and subsequently she's awaiting further reduction. So once we reduce it further, you will find that it is easy to apply compression garment and then make them comfortably walk and get back to normalcy. Most of the time, because they are not walking, they have severe muscle weakness, and all the muscles in the anterior compartment of the thigh, also the gastrocnemius, gastrosoleus, they are also very weak. So once they become ambulatory and do rigorous physiotherapy, we find that there is very good progress and reduction in the edema of the limb. This is another lady. You see how much it gives rise to deformity. Again, repeated bouts of lymphangitis, fever, and every bout of lymphangitis and fever will further increase in the swelling. So that's a swelling seen from the front. She had distal toe amputations because of infection. And once she came like this, we have done radical excision. We do layer wise. We can do it all the areas which are overhanging. We have done only after one sitting of debulking, we can get a result like this. And once we get a result like this, we put them on a compressive garment like this. And this is extremely important. Once we put them on compression garment, they need to be on lifelong some form of compression. And this is takes care of their further getting back to the edema. So this is a very extensive case, and this patient is following filariasis, and he was advised amputation of his leg. And if you see here, he was having repeated bouts of infection, and the toes were already sort of sloughing out. So here again, I learned from Taiwan, from Professor Professor Hang Chi Chen, that if you remove the toe, there is reduction in the infection, because infection in this cases comes from the nail of the toe. So we have done a 4-foot amputation, and with 4-foot amputation and soft tissue sculpturing, this is a term we use now. It is called soft tissue sculpturing. So we have removed all these small bits of pieces which is hampering in walking. The toes have been excised, and then this is after 2 years. He is maintaining his his foot, and he is able to take care of his feet and also walk comfortably. So this is his pre and post operative image. Of course, he has to be on compression garment and a customized footwear, which is also provided in our hospital. This is a very extensive case, and this cannot be done with localized excision. And this is an indication of a modified Charles excision. And this needs a lot of manpower. And this is one of our trainee from Brazil. And then this is how we do a Charles procedure. We put an incision from the knee to the medial side of the leg and go right up to the muscle. So once you reach the muscle and the periosteum of the tibia, you go along just like peeling a coconut. You just take off all soft tissue all around. Again, we have removed the nail and the toe component. That is the amount of excision we have done. We do not do skin grafting on the same day because it is an extensive procedure. After 48 hours, we do skin grafting. Very rarely the skin from the same limb can be used because it is damaged severely. And this is at 1 year follow-up. And at 1 year, if you see, he's still maintaining the skin quality. And of course, he's on compression garment. And this is how he's walking. So he has never, he was bedridden totally. And he is now walking and is able to take care of himself by himself. Now coming to role of liposuction, as I said, we have done very less cases. But if you do an MRI, MRI can easily distinguish between the layer of fat and the fluid. If there is more fat, then it is an indication for doing a liposuction. And it can be done in early cases of grade 1 and up to grade 2. Now coming to physiological procedure, lymphatico-venous bypass or lymphatico-venous anastomosis. And for this, I went to nearly 6 countries, but what I learned maximum was from Professor Koshima. And this is my fond memories from Professor Koshima. And this I visited him in 2019. And that's him. And that's him in the new center at Hiroshima. So he allowed me to take part in the microsurgical lymphatic-venous bypass. And this is the first time we did it. And then we did it after we got our ICG camera and supramicrosurgery instrumentation. As you know, the size of the vessel at this level becomes 0.8 to 0.1 millimeter in size. And that is Professor JP Hong. When he came, we did our first microsurgical LVA. This is a lady with a post mastectomy. This is how we do the marking with the ICG camera. So we inject dye at multiple places, make the marking, and also put the incision where we are going to do the lymphatico-venous anastomosis. Once we have done an LVA, we inject the ICG and can confirm our anastomosis under the ICG. So with the ICG, we have done multiple LVAs in this lady, and that's the result on the second post-operative day. You will find that the results immediately are very good, but we also compress them after nearly a week's time. We also continue the pressure garments. We don't totally discontinue pressure garments. So that is her result. Subsequently, she underwent liposuction of the arm and the forearm. And this is a lady with bilateral lymphedema of the leg, and that's a LVA done in the foot. In the dorsum of foot, we found a nice lymphatic vessel, and that's the LVA, and one in the ankle. So two locations we did LVA. The other limb was treated conservatively with compression. So that's the result. And again, she continues wearing compression garment. Now coming to vascularized lymphatic lymph node transfer, the last part. So basically what this means is transferring the lymph nodes from one territory to the other. As Professor Swami said, lymphatics have a propensity to grow when they are put into some new location. So this is our first case of vascularized lymph node transfer. If you see here, this is a lymphoscintigram showing total absence in a case in this child who had congenital absence of lymphatics. So we took the axillary lymph nodes based on the thoracodorsal axis. You need to make sure that you avoid the lymphatics going from the chest wall and breast, that I will show in the subsequent slides. How do we avoid it? So this is how we preserve the latissimus dorsi, that is a thoracodorsal nerve. We do not disturb it. We take a small skin monitoring island. Nowadays, we do not take it because the skin island sometimes becomes hypertrophic and becomes very big. Initially, we were putting it into the anterior tibial in the dorsum of foot, but then after the opinion of other experts, now we put it into the medial side. It is less visible and less seen. So that is a 3-month follow-up, and that's a 6-month follow-up. At 6 months, we did a lymphoscintigram, and if you see here, that's in the first web space, and the lymphatics, the dye goes up to the lymph nodes, and then it disappears into the venous system. So that's the location of the vascularized lymph node transfer. The donor site, there is no donor site morbidity, and that is the advantage of taking along the thoracodorsal axis. How does it work? Basically, there are various theories, and one of them I will show you after this case. So this is a lady where we did the first case of vascularized lymph node transfer post mastectomy lymphedema. Here she underwent breast reconstruction, and Professor Koshima might remember he was here in 2008 when we did a perforator flap workshop in Ganga Hospital, and Professor Blondel did this, and then this is a vascularized lymph node along with the deep flap. So that's her hand. She had lymphoria coming from the axilla, and that's a lymphatic, the edema on the hand. So we took the DF flap, that's a flap in place. The key thing to remember is we take only the suprainguinal lymph nodes. We avoid the lymph nodes along the femoral vessels because this part of lymph node basically drains the lower extremity. So that we need to avoid, which we can do by reverse mapping, which I'll show you in the next slides. So that's a post-operative result, a very nice breast reconstruction. Along with the reconstruction, because we have transferred the inguinal nodes into the axilla, there is complete reduction of the lymphedema in the upper extremity. So how does it work? Basically, 3 mechanisms have been put forward. There is basic sucking of the fluid, pump mechanism, and lymphangiography. So the transferred lymph nodes works as lymphatic pumps, and the steep pressure gradient between the high pressure arterial inflow and low pressure venous outflow draws the fluid. So that is the way it follows. The other 2 mechanisms have been named as catchment effect and the gravity effect. In catchment effect, there is recruitment of more lymphatic from the surrounding tissue into the transferred node, something what Professor Swami mentioned when people don't get lymphedema. So that is the mechanism. And the gravity is basically drains because of gravity coming to the ankle. Now, there are risks following lymph node transfer, which is donor site morbidity. So we avoid taking lymph nodes from the infrainguinal region. So we avoid the lower extremity lymphedema. How do we avoid donor site morbidity? Safer donor sites, reverse mapping, using a gamma gun, which we use for sentinel node mapping. Avoid the ones which drain the arm or leg. So the reverse mapping is basically done by injecting dye in the chest wall. So it is how we do a sentinel node biopsy. And then, so you need to inject the ICG in the chest wall and a technetium's dye in the technetium 99 in the first web space. So what happens is the nodes which are draining the upper extremity, they will on the gamma gun give a sound for the technetium, whereas ICG will be also seen. So we give a technetium scan like this, do a scan before, and then we inject this ICG in the chest wall, and we use this gamma gun. So this is brought by our oncosurgeons and they help us. So if you see here, if you use the gamma gun and you are on the node which is picking up the upper limb lymphatics, it shows on the in the probe like this. Whereas after harvest, if you use the gamma gun, there is no, it is showing as 0. So it is very important to target the correct lymph node, and that is where reverse mapping helps. So this is a using the gamma gun. So if you hear the sound, so the counts are high. That means those nodes are draining the axilla. So we don't take that, and we take the nodes which are basically draining the chest wall. Now coming to newer donor sites, there are 3 very popular donor sites: supraclavicular, submental, and omental. And we prefer the supraclavicular and omental because submental in Indian population, we find the scar is not acceptable to the patient. So this is an example of a supraclavicular node. It is based on the transverse cervical artery and vein. So this is this fibrolymphatic tissue, all full of fat and lymphatic. And these are along the internal jugular. So basically when you do a neck dissection, the level 2A and 2B are the jugular nodes, which basically are in this area. So this is a lady with post-mastectomy lymphedema. So those are the lymphatic which have been marked. That's how it has been raised. We avoid taking a skin island because skin island we find is not reliable, but you can take the external jugular as an extra vein to drain the lymphatic, and that has been kept there. It is very difficult to close the defect, so we put a small skin graft. And again, if you see the result at just in this immediate post-operative period is very dramatic. So this is a young man with a post in the lower extremity, and this is how we put. So we have moved away from the foot, we go higher up, and we don't take the skin island. We just put a skin graft. Over a period of time, the skin graft just contracts, and if you see here, there is the total resorption of the lymphedema. There is no, the foot looks near normal. And this is again popularized by Professor Swami of omental transfer. So we use the help of our pediatric laparoscopic surgeon, Dr. Rajamani, who is very good in pediatric laparoscopy. So he harvests it laparoscopically. Initially, we were taking lot of omentum, but most of the nodes are along the gastroduodenal junction, and that's a right gastroepiploic artery. So you can harvest it like this. We use these 4 probes. This is a small child with congenital lymphedema, and that's his foot, and that's his lymphoscintigram showing complete absence. And that's the amount of omentum which we have harvested all along the GJ junction. Those are the vessels. And if you see him at 3-month follow-up, you see a significant reduction in the lymphedema, and that's him. You start seeing the shape of the leg also starts becoming narrower. Initially, they have what is called as the reverse champagne bottle. So there is narrowing of the calf and around the ankle joint. And this is a more extensive case. She was post irradiated genital malignancy lady, and that's the location of the lymph node, and that's the result at 3-month follow-up. Another case, and that's the result at 6 months follow-up. Now we can combine finally the vascularized lymph node transfer with LVA. So this is a lady who had a cervical cancer with irradiation in the groin, resulting in this massive lymphedema of the lower extremity. So supraclavicular lymph node. So that's a lymphatic which we are going to transfer cervical artery and the corresponding vein. So we have taken that, and this is the stages of the harvest and the transfer. We monitor it with indocyanine green. Once we have completely dissected it out, we give a ICG dye, inject it IV, and then see for the perfusion of the flap. And similarly, when we have brought it to the leg, after we have connected the artery and vein, again we inject the dye and see for the perfusion of the entire flap. So that is how it has been put. We don't close it completely. We just allow it for the edema to settle down, and after 48 hours we complete the suture, and 1 LVA has been done in the dorsum of foot in the same lady. So that is a pre and post-op, and that's a pre and post-op. We do make them wear compression garment. We don't totally take away compression garment in any of our patients. Now finally, in post-traumatic situation where they get severe lymphoria like this, repeated breakdown, repeated wound breakdown, and there is a lot of eczematous changes because of circumferential skin grafted area. So we take the part of the latissimus dorsi, skin island, and some nodes and put it into the popliteal fossa. So it not only improves the quality of skin, it is like a bridging phenomena. So the lymphatics along the distal part through this big skin island and some lymphatics here go forward. So what is called as a bridging phenomena. Same, this is a post-filarial, multiple procedures were done for him. And then this is a DF flap taken for him with bilateral suprainguinal lymph nodes. So this is put here, anastomose to the posterior tibial artery, and we have also done an extra vein on the supra SIEA. So that's him. And if you see here, immediate post-op, the skin quality improves, and now the lymphatic start flowing through this. So there is a new terminology for it, which is called as lymphatic flap interposition or lift. So, but we call it as an interposition flap transfer. You may need to do secondary debulking and some secondary procedures like trimming of the nail, trimming of the skin. This is the same boy. See, the leg edema is much controlled, but the island is increased in size. This is the 8-year follow-up. So we went ahead and did a debulking. So the take-home points, all patients of lymphedema will benefit with treatment. Conservative management is very effective in more than 80% of cases. Excisional procedures, though disfiguring, is very good in reducing the unhealthy tissue, because repeated breakdown of the skin and repeated inflammation of the skin is one of the cause for causing fever and further deterioration of the condition. Physiological procedures like lymphovenous bypass and vascularized lymph node transfer are very effective in early cases. Multimodality and multidisciplinary approach is extremely important. So nearly 10 people are involved, or 10 disciplines are involved in management of every patient. Thank you very much. And I am grateful to all my teachers through whom I have learned the various techniques, and the teacher of teachers, so Professor O'Brien, who taught Professor Koshima and the other people, so, and Professor Hang Chi Chen, so who trained from Professor O'Brien. So all of them contributed in improving my knowledge. We have still not reached the ideal treatment. We are making possible that we use all modalities of reconstruction to achieve a near normal outcome in as many patients as possible. And we will be coming up with customized solution in future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Your lecture show the everything.
Yes.
All probably all treatment methods,
Yes.
and also all methods are very successful for especially very severe lymphedema. Is popular, very popular in India. Probably the most severe case will
Yes,
be in India.
yes.
So especially filariasis is most severe. Also, you mentioned many things. The important point, the nail resection is essential. This concept is yeah proposed by the Han Chi Chen.
Yes, sir.
This is the not so popular, but now I recognize that this concept is very important for severe lymphedema like filariasis. Also, probably you are the first doctor who tried the lymph node transfer to the filariasis
Yes,
and showed a very nice result. This is very important. And someone has a question or comment?
yes. There is one question on how do we
Oh, yeah,
select,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
lymph node in congenital. So we do ICG study and we do an MRI in children in congenital cases. If we find LVA or if we find lymphatic tissue, especially in the dorsum of foot, then we combine lymph node transfer with LVA. So we have not done in a child in LVA so far, but if we get a case next, we will do a combination of augmented lymph node transfer along with LVA in congenital.
Okay, other question? There's some other question? No?
No, that's
No? JJ, you answer the JJ's question?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
my question is, you are doing the many
Yes, sir.
momentum lymph node and also thoracodorsal lymph node, also
Yes, sir.
subclavicular, DIP, lymphatic flap.
Yes, sir.
So means how do you differentiate this
So
flap?
yes, sir. So in a lady, we
Mm-hmm.
prefer supraclavicular because ladies don't like momentum. They don't like touching abdomen. So in a
Mm-hmm.
female patient, we do momentum. In post-traumatic and when we need skin, then we do DF.
Mm-hmm.
So DF with lymph node, like big area in the lower extremity. I
Mm-hmm.
think your paper is the most famous paper where you use DIP for trauma. So we
Mm-hmm.
have we are very successful in DIP for trauma. Now we have done around 15 cases in trauma. So we find the skin quality is very good and post-operative edema really reduce. So when we need skin with nodes, we take DF. When we need in men and adults, men we prefer the axilla. Female we don't take axilla. So in men, as I showed all the young boys and men, we take the thoracodorsal. We are very comfortable with thoracodorsal because we do a lot of latissimus dorsi free flap. So for us, thoracodorsal, big size vessel, nice. So men, thoracodorsal, female, supraclavicular, children, omentum, and when we need skin, DF. So this is how we classify.
Yeah, very clear.
Very clear.
Also, the other question, the interesting point is the recipient vessel.
Yes.
Yeah, especially lower leg. Recipient
so-
vessel which is difficult. So which
Yes.
vessel you are using?
So if it is around the ankle, we are putting vessel is posterior tibial, end to side posterior tibial.
I see.
If very small, then even end to end, because sometimes end to side children very difficult. So end to end posterior tibial. If skin is bad damage, like I showed, then popliteal fossa on the back side, we use the sural artery, sural vessels. So gastrocnemius vessels.
Very small.
Yeah, gastrocnemius. No, just at the origin, they are little big.
Origin.
Origin of gastrocnemius. Yes, in the popliteal fossa. So popliteal fossa in the lower extremity and the posterior tibial. In upper extremity, we prefer the radial artery, and we prefer on the dorsal along the wrist. For wrist, we take. So in along the radial artery end to side, and sometime along the elbow also end to side to the ulnar artery. So it is hidden area. So behind is hidden and also dependent. I came to know in upper extremity, elbow is dependent, not wrist, because when we are sitting and we keep elbow flexed. So this is the dependent area, and from the shoulder also dependent area. So preferably along the elbow is good area for upper extremity, also hidden.
I see. I see. You showed the one case of maybe flap transfer to the lateral side of the lower leg.
Yes, yes.
So which vessel you use? Peroneal?
No, that was anterior tibial.
Anterior tibial. I see. Anterior tibial. Entry side or end to end?
No, end to end.
End to end.
End to end.
Okay. Yeah, I see. I see. So yeah. Okay. Someone has other question? No. Okay, Swami, Dr. Swami, do you have some question? Oh, Swami is here.
Yes. Mute. You have to unmute yourself. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you for presenting so much variety of the cases. So, yeah, so then, do you think that what age is the good timing to considering the lymphatic surgery for the children? Do you have any preference or any guideline?
Actually, I have discussed it with Professor Koshima many times. So if the part of syndrome, then more dangerous, life-threatening. So we do early. But otherwise, like this, 5 to 6 years or between 5 to 10 years is safe, and big size vessels. And till that time, they usually are on compression device, some compression. So around 5 years is a safe period. Earliest we have done is 4 years, but I would prefer 5 to, because also post-operative cooperation and child is also better between 5 to 10 years. So we will do that.
Yeah, thank you very much.